know that now you're playing with your consciousness. You can't develop mental illnesses if you don't walk on this path righteously. So take heed to that warning, I promise. What's up, fam? So in today's video, I'm going to share with you 10 unmistakable signs that you are going through a spiritual awakening and that your consciousness is ascending. But first, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. All right, so I'm going to keep it a buck with you guys. I really wish someone that I had a friend, anybody, would have told me that going through a spiritual awakening was not going to be a glamorous experience at all, at least from my personal experience.
It's a twister! It's a twister!
It could be tiring physically, it could be emotionally draining, it could be mentally confusing. A lot of stuff is kicked up in you as you go through this internal alchemy of change. You are really going to feel like you are losing your mind. And my loves, friends, rock stars, that is because you are. Your mind is actually changing. It's starting to move from the 3D energies and to move more towards the 4D and 5D energies. And what by 4D and 5D, I mean fourth dimension. I don't want to go heavily into the dimensions into this video because I feel like that's going to need a whole nother video. And if you want me to do a video on the different dimensions, please let me know in the comments. Technically, your consciousness is ascending to a higher level of perspective. I guess that's one of the simplest way I could get it. So for instance, if you think about the word ascending, it means increasing in size and of importance, or it means sloping upward. That's what ascending means. So you're going to be able to still, obviously, you're here physically, your physical body is here moving because your spirit is moving, but your consciousness will be able to see things from a higher perspective. Now, the purpose of this video is pretty much to let you guys who are going through this know that you are not alone. You are dealing with something very, very real. I started my spiritual awakening about 10 years ago, almost a decade ago. And I will say, although it was really uncomfortable in the beginning and a mind that is stretched can never go back to its old dimension, ascending is something to be celebrated. So congratulations, it should be celebrated because it means that you are mentally maturing, you are emotionally maturing, you are overall going to become a better person and a beacon of light. A lot of perks come with ascending too. You'll be able to start to learn how to center yourself within your peace. And there's going to be a lot of other things that, you know, really change, that you're going to no longer be able to tolerate your old ways. So with that being said, I'm just going to jump into the top 10 signs that you, my friend, are having a spiritual awakening and going through an ascension. All right, so I'm going to start with 10, and I believe I gave some of this away already. 10 is you are going to become heavily disinterested in your old ways and almost forget what used to make you happy. So let's just say that you used to like horror movies and movies with a lot of violence in it. You're going to come to find yourself not liking these movies as much. It's just not going to kind of hit. That was a big one for me. I noticed I used to love horror movies, and then all of a sudden I became like, ooh, wait, what is going on? And then when I would see a lot of violence in movies and a lot of gore, it would just be too much energetically. I just was not able to take it. And that was one of my first signs. Or let's just say you was a petty person and, you know, you used to love throwing shades and jabs at your friends, you know, and like chalking it up to all good fun. You're going to come to find out belittling someone and like being belittled by someone in the name of fun is just no longer of interest for you. And when you start to try to do it, your comedic timing will always be off, or you just won't start to feel right, or you're going to start to take it extremely personal. And it's just because you're moving from that type of energy. You no longer need that as a form of support anymore. You want to have more pleasant conversations. Conversations is actually going to benefit you, that's going to help you grow into the closer you. So if these are things that used to make you happy, you're going to find out they no longer make you happy no more. Or I'll use this one, and this is no judgment. Let's just say you were a heavy drinker, and this is not judging anybody that's out there drinking, because I still like a drink, but it's never been an issue for me or vice. Let's just say you were one of those people that drank every single day, all day long, 7 days a week. You're gonna come to find out that as you start to drink, it's starting to still not fill that void. So where you used to be able to be numb yourself and be like, hey, live and be merry, you actually start to feel deeply depressed. So drinking no longer makes you happy. It's like you're drinking because you are depressed, but you actually notice, and it's because your consciousness is like letting you become more aware, you become more attuned with yourself that, hey, maybe this isn't it right now. Maybe you need to take a break. So if any of these things or something similar, and I'm using these for example, that was a part of your old you is not meant to be a part of the new you, you're going to start to really have to detach yourself from it, because internally it's going to only get more uncomfortable as you partake in it. So for instance, with me, as I was watching horror movies, I'm like, okay, I used to love it. I used to love this. I'm going to give it another try. No, I couldn't. It was just like, oh my God, why are they doing this? And then I would just leave, like after the movie's done, with this heavy energy, you're almost feeling disgusted. Or let's say you're out with your friends and they're throwing shade in the name of good fun. You might actually literally probably get in a fight because what you say about me, where just a few months ago or even like a week ago it was okay, and they're like, okay, let's chill. Or again, you're drinking, it's just like you may find yourself even getting more physically sick or starting to have more hangovers. The old you would no longer be of interest of you, and eventually you're going to move away from those things, because guess what, they don't feel good anyway. So your mind is starting to ascend to a higher level, and you will be able to get the strength to walk away from those old ways. And when I say forget what makes you happy, it's because you don't know what's going to make you happy yet. The new hasn't revealed itself. You just know you're getting rid of this old you. And so that's number 10. 9. People are just going to randomly start telling you their business. Period. You are going to become an unpaid therapist. For an example, you may be at the park minding your business, reading a book. Somebody's going to sit next to you. You're like, oh.
Well, when I was 12 years old growing up on Long Island, there was a cerebral palsy fair a few blocks away from my house, and they announced that they would donate $2,000 to cerebral palsy for anyone that broke a Guinness record. So at first I wanted to ride the roller coaster at Coney Island. So I called Coney Island and they said, hey kid, take a hike at 12 years old. We're not going to let you strap yourself into the cyclone.
Or you may actually have your earbuds on the train, and like getting into your song, and next thing you know, somebody comes and sit next to you, because normally that's how it happens, and they tap you on the shoulder. Ooh, they're going to be like, bam, I'm going through this in my marriage. I can't believe, like, they will offer information about themselves that's normally extremely personal. And a lot of times these people are strangers. And this is because you yourself are like, starting to ascend. So you're starting to become more of an empathetic person, and you may not know this at the time, and you may not be able to feel it at the time. And a lot of times you're not even going to want to talk to these people. You're going to keep your energy to yourself, because again, you are going through these changes. You're like, what the fuck is going on with me? But that's going to still attract people to come, and I hate to say this, unfortunately, throw their energetic junk on you, because they're going to feel like you are a safe space. And technically you're on your way to become that. You may not be just at that moment, but that's how powerful this ascension is, because it start working on aura right away, and people may not necessarily know why they feel that comfortable talking to you. Only thing they know is you are now a beacon of light, and they're gonna find you, and you're gonna start to notice it happen. You'll be in an elevator, and the old lady will start to tell you about her old life story. She's starting to reflect. You're also gonna notice animals are gonna start to love you. Dogs will randomly run up to you. You may be sitting again, and a squirrel may come up to you. I noticed with me, and New York pigeons are on a different level, so they're not really scared of anybody, but I noticed there could be like a ground full of pigeons, and I could walk right in the middle of them and they won't move. Most likely no birds actually move. No animals move out my way now. It's like normally they scatter when they see humans. Nope. London Bambi walking through, they're like, oh, he fine, girl. He's a part of the universe. So you're gonna notice like the way people react to you is gonna be different. Especially when they starting to open up, and the way animals react to you. So that is 9, my friend. 8. So you are going to start to feel lost within yourself. And the closest way I can describe this feeling is like that scene in Get Out. Hopefully you guys seen Get Out. And it's the scene where he was sitting there and she had the teacup. She go ding and he starts to fall in a dark abyss. Without the teacup, because no one's controlling this is literally your conscious sending for your betterment, but you're going to feel like you are falling into a dark abyss with inside yourself. That's how I felt, like I was falling into the darkness. Now, hindsight is 2020, and I realized that I was technically falling into the darkness because, one, remember, I have no interest in things that I used to be interested in. I no longer remember what made me happy. So technically I was going through two other tarot cards and a major arcana. I went through the death card because the old you, as I'm falling through that dark period, I didn't realize that was the death mode. So your consciousness is literally, your old you is dead. So you're trying to look back, and that's why you only seeing darkness. So I'm looking back to grab the old me because out of fear, but I can't because I have no interest in anything I used to be interested in. And I also looking to the future of what's trying to make me happy. And I can't do that because I don't know what's making me happy just yet. So I'm just sitting there feeling like I'm falling. And that is the death card in tarot. It was just like, you're sitting here in this iciness. It was a really, really depressing feeling. I didn't know I forgot who I was, but I didn't know who I was going to be. So it was just this part of me while I was lost within myself. Now, while I'm falling internally in this dark abyss, mind you, your life, your energetic life, things that's not supposed to be in your life is falling off too. So that means that the people that's not being in your life is going to fall off. If they're no longer going to be energetically aligned with your future, there's going to be no tolerance for that. So they're going to fall off. Jobs may fall off. You may wind up finding yourself quitting your job if it's not fulfilling your spirit, because you're aiming more so to live more authentically your spirit self. So you may either get fired or you may actually quit. You may change places if the energy of where you live may go. So, you're going to feel like the rug has literally been pulled, swept from under your feet, and you're just falling. And that is the death period of the fall up into the dark abyss when you're losing yourself. Now, as you're falling, you're going to also, be resurrected. Now, as you're resurrected, you're going to wake up to the hermit. And that's scary because you're still in the darkness and you're isolated. So you're isolated by yourself. So you're falling, you're in the darkness. You don't know where you've been, but you don't know where you're going. You don't feel like there's nothing you could grab on for a piece of sanity. And as you literally feel like you're crumbling your mind, and it's getting extremely, extremely depressing. And the gotcha is the hermit card puts you alone and isolates you, and you go into self-isolation to find your own light. And you have to go through this fall and let things play out and fall around you and collapse internally so you can rebuild a stronger foundation. And that is what's going to happen. So eventually that light will spark. That's the gotcha part of this moment. It's going to feel like death, and it's going to get dark and low. But what I wish someone was able to articulate to me is this too shall pass. Everything will pass. That's just life. Nothing, we have the ebb and flows in life. This too will pass. So you might be depressed. It may go, and this period no longer we don't know how long this period could take, because this was the most scariest part of my awakening for me. And I believe I was losing a lot of people. This period probably lasted, for me, it felt like ages. It could have even been almost like a year. It was a long time, as my consciousness was really trying to move up to the next level, to adjust some things and move some things around. I mean, I not only lost people, I had people die. Obviously, I lost friends. I went through the whole job change, and all of this stuff was happening as I was starting to run towards my higher self. Even the content that I decided I wanted to start uploading to YouTube began to change. If you look at my older content, it matches nothing of what I've been putting out now. All of that had to die with the death card, so so I could build the new. And eventually, when I met the Hermit card, I found my own light, and that first step started to appear. But for a long period of time, I just felt like I was just falling, without anything to grasp, not anything to hold, without any first step. One thing I will say though, when you're going through this period, you have to have faith, and that's where you have to have faith. Your light will appear, and I had that. I knew the old me somewhat was going, although I was still a confusing period, but I had strong faith. Don't ask me how that worked, but it also meant that, you know, I knew I was ready for real change in my life. So 8 was probably the toughest part of my awakening, the most difficult part of my awakening, and probably by far the scariest part of my awakening. Losing complete knowledge of who I was, and losing complete knowledge of where I thought I wanted to go, and not know where I was actually going. Like, you know, where I felt like I had control and realized I had to release control and get comfortable within a fall. So that is 8. And if you're going through this period, no, you're not alone. Again, just know this too shall pass. 7. 7 is you are going to have a strong desire to become a better you, and you are no longer going to have the desire to judge. Period. So this means that you're not going to care about like other people in a sense of what they're wearing, who they're dating, what they're eating. You want to say, hey, this is what you want to do, this works for you, live your life. You're really going to start to respect people's decisions as to how they are. You're not going to be worried about like, you know, silly things like people and they're just their physical appearance. You're going to care more about their spirit as a person, but physically and stuff like that, like, oh, this person looks like this person looks like that. No, you're not going to care about that. The desire to judge other people for the way they live their lives will not be there. As long as their content of character is good, you will be okay. And this is partially because you're going to have the strong desire during like number 7, this part, for me to just be a better person yourself. So whatever that looks like for you, you're going to be so occupied with what you feel like you want to be a better person, because you were so long in that dark period where you just didn't even know. You're going to actually be able to have some time to give it some thought. So as you're falling, you may say, hey, I'm gonna try to, you know, become a vegan. This is just an example, because I tried to become a vegan for like 6 months. It didn't work. It didn't work for me, but yo, go for it. So or you may say, I want to work out more, or I want to read more books, I want to drink more water, or I want to learn a new language, or, you know, a new trade, a new skill, you know, I want to go back to school. So you're going to be busy trying to figure out what is going to be the better version of you. Like, you're going to start to slowly come out of the fall. And this is what I call, you know, like, you know, it's going to be like the beginning of the first step. So this is the first step, that desire. So it's like, okay, bam, I'm still in a darkness and I feel this first step, but what is this first step for me? So it's like, you know, you're in the darkness, you feel the first step, but you want to see, what does this first step look like? And you're going to be so occupied with that the desire to judge other people, if you were ever one of those people, would just totally fall off. Like, you're not going to care what they're wearing. Hell, they could show up in a damn SpongeBob scrub pants costume and wear it year round, and you'll be okay with that as long as they are a good person. Because again, you want to worry about how you can become the best you as possible, and that's what you're going to be more obsessed with. So 7 is, you know, no longer wanting to judge other people while simultaneously working on the best you. All right, now we are on 6. We on 6. 6 is you become thirsty, like you have this unquenchable thirst for spiritual knowledge. And for me, what that looked like was, and this is when the first step really started to show itself and solidify. And this is when I would grab it became, I wanted to learn about chakras. So I got really heavily, deeply serious about my knowledge, picking up books, looking at anything I find online about chakras, start learning about crystals and how they actually interact with the body, and work with the aura. Funny video about auras. I see auras, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to digress. But yeah, like for instance, like this is my new crystal, rose quartz. for self-love. And the one I love is this motivate. I always keep motivate on me. Sometimes it leaves, but this one has been staying with me, showing me that we need to work together. But yeah, my new rose course, start getting books. Got this one from my good friend. So anything I could find, see or ship on or learn about, even learning about the moon cycle. This is how it manifested itself for me. I still have this unquenchable thirst for spiritual knowledge. I can never get enough of these books about, the occult arts, about crystals, learning more things I can about chakra, about sound therapy, sage cleansing. And that's why, again, my content reflects this. When you start to have this thirst, go for it. Or tarot. I spent years learning tarot, and I'm going to start to incorporate more of that into my channel. But when you start getting this thirst, like for spiritual knowledge, that's your consciousness really, really amping it up and saying, okay, hey, some might say, then you have to enter the mystery school. You're starting to learn the mysteries of the university. I always get a sign when I'm brought dead on. It's like a ding or a car beep his horn. So when you starting to get that, you will figure it out. If you go to a crystal store, if you're curious about crystals, see which crystals. And I have tons of videos on how to pick the perfect crystal. The crystals would pick you up. Go to, your local occult shop or witchy shop and find out and see if there's any books you want to know. If you're interested in candle magic, things that you probably have never been interested in before, that you were scared of before, that because you felt like it was demonized, most likely. Ooh, see, I told you, when a horn beat, bam, that consciousness be on beat. Did I lie? Did I lie? Did I fucking lie? But that's facts, let me know. But you just go follow through. This is your first step, girl. You're finally getting out the abyss. How about to grab that rope and start climbing, So that's pretty much 6 in a nutshell. That thirst is going to be so unquenchable. It's still unquenchable. I still get really excited. Like, I don't know why. I've had rose quartz crystals before, but it's something about this rose quartz that's making me super geek. And I think it's something I really, after last year, something I really, really needed at the moment. But it really resonate with me. So yeah, go get that spiritual knowledge and, try to quench that thirst. Although it's never going to be fully quenched, which is always a good thing because you always want to learn. And yeah, that's 6. We are on 5, so we are halfway there now. And 5 is facing your own demons. Now, this may be tough for a lot of people. Like 8 was tough for me, falling through the abyss, not knowing, like that period was just really dark for me. Number 5, I get and I understand because I've seen a lot of people get stuck. Actually, there's a funny story. You know what? I'm going to do a story time and I'm going to save that. But I know somebody at 5, when it came to facing their own demon, this is how they got stuck in a journey. And you want to be careful when you start ascending to not try to run back to your past, because now you're messing with your consciousness. You're messing with your consciousness evolving, and it's never good. And you can develop mental illnesses if you don't walk on this path righteously. So take heed to that warning. I probably should have put that at the beginning of this video, but take heed to that warning that if you're not on a righteous path and you're not trying to be mean and being the best, you not intentionally harming people, being respectful, because at this moment, when you start ascending what is like technically right and what is wrong. Like when you're putting out pain in the world, and when you're just intentionally do it, be careful. So 5 is you're going to face those demons. You're going to face what I call, or what is known as the shadow self. So the parts of you that is ugly, those are the parts of you that you try to hide, the parts of you that you don't really want people to know about, the things that you try your best to keep secrets. You are going to face that part of you, the part of you that you are ashamed of, and you're going to realize as you're going through 5 that we are here having a human experience. We are all light, and we also have darkness within us. So you during 5 will also find compassion for that part of you and make allowances for that part of you. like integrated in you so you could become a whole person, because the more you suppress your shadow self, the darker and the denser it is. That's where Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde comes from. You know how he was the doctor in the day, and then Mr. Hyde, the most horrific person at night. It becomes almost a split personality syndrome. So this part is really, really important. There were things about myself I had to face where it's just like, and I mean, even during this period, you will start to possibly think about how these actions have affected other people, how it's affected your life, how it has, mine has been how it has kept me stagnant. To share some personal, it's just like, oh, this behavior did this, that. And it could be whether you didn't speak up when you're supposed to speak up, or you spoke up in a wrong tone, where you was mean. It could look, your shadow self might look different. It's different for each and every one of us, but it's normally the part of yourself where you feel really, really ashamed of, and you're going to come to an agreement. You're going to come to, you know, a compassionate part of yourself to meet that stuff, because again, your consciousness is ascending, so you're going more to a lighter vibration. You're walking towards love, and you're going closer. As you go up, you're going towards love in its purest form, and you're going to have that space for yourself. And when you have that space for yourself, you'll be able to have that space for other people. You'll also be able to learn new things when you face your shadow self. You'll be able to learn how to respect boundaries, as to set up your own boundaries, which is a form of self-love. Boundaries are a form of self-love. So a lot comes with 5 and facing your own demons. And I also know, again, this could be triggering for a lot of people. A lot of people say they face their own demons, but they really don't. And it's just what it is, because it's a really hard thing to do, to sit down there and be like, oh, I'm this person, and take that type of accountability. So 5 is going to be tough, but as you go through, you know, number 5 on the list, be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself, and just know, you know, get yourself some rose quartz for self-love when it's time to face that part of yourself, and know you are a being of love, and you deserve to be loved. And if there's anything you have done to other people, you know, if you can, apologize to them and say, ooh, I was in that unhealed part of myself, and apologize to yourself and forgive yourself and move on. That's 5. We help out. All right, so 4 is actually probably one of the most lightest symptoms I feel like I've had, and one of my favorite symptoms. And it's when I felt like I became connected with everything. When you're on 4, you're gonna be like, feel like you're connected with everything. It's like, and 4 represents the elements, so water, earth, fire, and wind, and you're gonna feel like you're connected to everything in the universe. So animals, like for instance, this morning I heard the birds chirping, and I feel like when I hear them chirping, like they're talking like to me. It's just like that scene on Cinderella when, you know, the birds are chirping and they're bringing her. It literally feels like, oh my God, I know what the birds are saying. I'm a tree hugger, you know. Sometimes I feel like trees talk to me, and there's certain trees that reach out, and I'm like, oh, and I hug the trees, and I feel like, you know, it's taking some energy from me, and I'm taking some energy from the trees. If the wind blows a certain way, like if it blows aggressively, I'm like, okay, my thoughts may be really, really erratic, or I may find, you know, a feather, and I'm like, that's a sign. You feel really connected to everything and everyone. And you know, 4 is also where you really, really get to like see people, when, you know, your discernment starts to really, 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 really kick in, because you are attached to the universe. So 4, you are pretty much seeing things from like a higher perspective, and that's like a for sure sign. So I think it was, I forget who it was, I believe it was Janelle Aoki. She put on her Instagram post where she, you know, she just connected about how, you know, we're all connected with the farmers who was like, let's say, farming tomatoes, to giving them to the companies, who is giving them to the trucks, who is, you know, then in turn taking them to the grocery stores to give them to us to put on our kitchen counter, or the fishermen out there fishermen, and the same process. We are all connected. If anything that 2020 should have taught us with the you know, I don't want to say it, you know, with everything that's going on, is we're really connected. We watch a situation happen. We had a whole world reset. If that doesn't show us that we're connected, then I don't know what is. So 4 is when you're actually able to really, really see how we are really, really connected, and we are here in this time, in the third dimension, in this universe together. So connect four. Boy, that wasn't even intentional.
Yeah, man, I think Rachel's beautiful because she's got good brains. I am the way your son don't need a gun to get.
Connect four like the game. Damn. I mean, so we're connected. Just like I'm sorry, I know that was a bit weird, but it just popped up in my head like connect four. So four is you're gonna feel like you're connected to literally everything, people, animals, wind, elements, and see everything indeed have its place. You're not even going to want to kill spiders when you see them. You're going to see a spider and be like, oh, and you're going to grab a cup. If you're not too scared of spiders, or have somebody grab a cup, you're going to try your best to let it live or let it go on its own way. Like if I see like a spider, I'm just like, oh, that's an animal totem. And that's another thing, you're going to start taking the spiritual messages because everything has its place. You know, I have a friend of mine who sees a hawk that flies on his windowsill, and it says animal totem. And sometimes I'm walking down the street and I see something, I'm like, oh, that's my animal totem. Just like I said, I'll find a feather, and depending on the shade of the color, I'm like, that feather was supposed to be there at this time and it fell into my path for a reason because it's connected to something. So you start to see the connectivity through everything with four. All right, guys, we're almost there. We're almost at the home stretch. We are on 3. And if you already watched this far, you might as well keep on going because we're on final 3. And after this one, we're gonna have 2 more to go. So the third one is you start to have lucid dreams. And I mean, these are very vivid dreams, whereas if you would go to sleep and not remember what you dreamed about to now you go to sleep and you remember your dreams. You remember what you had, and they become really, really clear. And this is because you are becoming attached to your subconscious. Your subconscious and conscious are starting to meet. You're right at that line. During my lucid dreams, I normally just take them as a key, because once I wake up in a dream and I realize I'm dreaming, I've been working on flying. So lately I've been lucid dreaming like crazy, and it's amplified by the Motivite crystal. So this really has been helping me. So I'm like, oh, I'm dreaming. A lot of times I like to fly. Other times I like to see how the story is playing out, like a soap opera. But you would be able to lucid dream like no other, and you're going to start to get more and more in touch with your subconscious. Sometimes, messengers will come through you through your dreams. So depending on what I was going through. So if it was a really, really tough times, my parents, like, are deceased. They would come to me in my dream. My parents would be there so I could, and these are real visits. So I'd be able to get to talk to my dad, like sometimes I'm just venting. And sometimes I'm just, just hanging out. Like, it's bizarre. Or not bizarre, but it's like it was strange at first. Or, my mother, sometimes she would come and visit me in a dream. And I believe like this is their way of like checking on me now that I've risen my conscious up high enough and it's continued to grow where we could actually be in touch, and I'm not like scared, and I'm familiar with the ways of life. So you'll be able to start to lucid dreams and get in contact to other realms. I would say that as well within yourself. So your conscious will actually be the vehicle for you to get in contact with other realms. As your consciousness is climbing the dimensions, you will be able to see this and through this way. And I guess that's the best, most simplest way I can kind of put it. So that's pretty much it. That's really, really quick. So 3 is you're going to start the lucid dream like no other, and you'll remember your dream. And what I would suggest, I don't do this because I already, doing my mood tracker in my journal, but I have a niece. What she does is whenever she has a lucid dream, and if she wakes up from it, no matter what time of night she does, she writes the time of night or time that she wakes up, and then she immediately write what she sees in a dream. And so some people keep dream journals. If you're lucid dreaming a lot, I suggest you do this, and then maybe you could come back and you maybe even find a message. All right. 2, simple and straight to the point. Your intuition grows mad strong. You see straight through the bullshit, meaning that your discernment is just on point. You not only at this point know yourself so well, you know other people as well too. So if somebody try to lie to you, you see straight to it. If somebody's trying to hide something, you see straight to it. And at this point, you may not necessarily know, but you also know that, hey, this person is hiding some more. I might not be getting the full truth. And that is too, your discernment is just out of this world. And it's because of all the other work that you put into it, that you are now so connected to the universe that you can feel it. You can feel it, you can see it, and you're starting to really, really peek into some gifts, which leads me to the last one. One is, all right, guys, drum roll with the ones. I guess I insert the sound there. One is you now see everything as energy. And this is how it happened for me. It may happen a little differently for you, but you see everything and everyone as vibrating energies. And you're also starting to come and peak with your clairvoyant gifts. And I call them your clairvoyant gifts because it's just like, I feel like being able to touch, smell, see, these are like, physical gifts. We have clairvoyant gifts as well. Because you see everything as energy, and because your discernment is so good, you've become so sensitive to the vibrations as you are ascending and having this spiritual awakening. The energies become a little bit more refined, so they're not as dense as they are in the third dimension, which is where we are now. So as you starting to ascend, your consciousness is able to peek into these other gifts that you actually have, and they start to reveal themselves. And you now see how everything is connected, how everything is moved. You're seeing the underlining current under pretty much everything. And again, this could be really, really tricky, because unless you have a group of friends who are at this point are knowledgeable about like maybe the occult arts or about spiritual awakenings, about like the energy in life, us as energetic beings, meaning that our spirits is the one that's moving our physical bodies around, the way our thoughts are, how emotions come in, chakras, all this shit, that I talk about in my videos. It could feel, again, isolating, because it's like, if you, at this point, most likely you will have those friends because your old friends, you became too weird for them and they disappeared on you and they fell off. Or if you didn't accumulate some new friends to replace that, it could become, isolating. So that's the only time it could be tricky, because you may feel like you don't have anybody to talk to it about. You have me. You have my YouTube. Make sure or follow me on Instagram. You can always reach out to me there and I'll be your friend. But again, there's so much information out there. There's so many groups on Facebook that there's definitely people that can relate to you. So you will see everything as energy. Everything could be energetic, and you realize you are a part of a whole big energetic ecosystem. And yeah, so these are just some of the signs. There are plenty of signs that can prove that you are having a spiritual awakening. I tried to stick to signs that I went through personally. These are 10 of them. And again, if this is happening to you and you are feeling some of these spiritual awakening symptoms, congratulations. Like I said, a mind that is stretched can never go back to its old dimensions. And I think this is a beautiful thing to be celebrated. And it's uncomfortable in the beginning, but eventually you get used to it. You're setting up yourself for a better, healthier you. Until next video, love you guys, and I hope this month has been amazing to you. And yeah, peace.